What's poppin'? Welcome back to Midwest World. This is the Tubecast. All right, we gonna talk about it. We already know the big news, man. Technically it's big news. I'm not surprised by it. I don't see how really anyone is surprised by it, but we gonna talk about it. So make sure you like, subscribe, share the content. Greatly appreciate it from everybody. I appreciate everybody who sub. Channel slowly growing. I appreciate it, man. Straight up, you know what I'm saying? So understand that. Now, GTA 6 has been delayed until May 26, 2026. Am I surprised by this? Absolutely not. I expect it to be delayed again. To be honest with you, I'm just being real with y'all. You know what I'm saying? I had doubts that it was coming out this year. You know what I mean? If you know about Rockstar game, well, with their big titles like Grand Theft Auto, all right, even though they come out years and years apart, they always delay the game. You know what I'm saying? Just go look into it. You know what I'm saying? They at least give you about two delays. You know what I mean? From my memory, they at least give you about 2 delays, man. So they say it's to avoid crunch time hours, or you know what I mean, or crunch time, whatever the case is. I'm not saying that's false, but with the prices, with the price announcements in these with Xbox and Nintendo, I don't think dropping the game for $100 on top of that will fare well. Even though I do feel like the game gonna sell regardless, they're gonna pay the $100, and we're gonna get into why I feel like I'm not saying it's not a big deal, but you know what I mean. Just we're gonna get into that. But the trailer looks good. The second trailer, I'm gonna have both trailers playing while I'm talking, you know what I mean? So it's gonna go from 2 to 1, 2 to 1, 2 to 1, whatever the case is, right? So obviously it's not gonna have no audio in it, you know what I mean? But you're gonna see what it is, you know what I mean? But the game, the graphic, if that's the graphic style, that look nice. That looked nice. That's obviously the best looking Grand Theft Auto, period. The most realistic looking Grand Theft Auto as far as bodies and all that type of stuff. I wasn't expecting it to look like that, but some would say, well, it's on the PS5. I'm like, yeah, but still, like, Grand Theft Auto you would never confuse Grand Theft Auto for having realistic looking graphics. You know what I mean? So I was surprised how they look. Okay. If I'm not mistaken, I believe the game was confirmed to run 30 frames per second anyway, because it looked like the frames isn't exactly the smoothest. But I'm not a frame guy anyway, so it is what it is. 30 is fine for me anyway, you know what I mean? I enjoy the Switch and stuff like that, so I can care less about playing 30 frames on the Steam Deck. If something gotta run 30, it gotta run 30, you know what I mean? No big deal. I'm good with it. And I'm good with 60, you know what I'm saying? So it is what it is. To me, I know some don't like that though, so I know some might see that and be like, hold on, why? With all the stuff that goes on, they have one of the most detailed worlds I've ever played in. Now, I'm not the biggest RPG guy, so there might be RPGs with more lively worlds than GTA, right? But GTA 4 and 5, some of the best sandbox worlds I've ever seen, okay? As far as with the NPCs and everything. Very realistic. So I can imagine that being hard to get to run 60 with all that stuff going on, you know what I mean? So it is what it is, you know what I mean? But the game looks great. I mean, look, the first trailer, it's like, man, it embodies what Florida is. You know what I mean? Honestly, you know what I'm saying? And this second one did the same thing. It looks good. It looked real good, man. The thing is, though, when it comes to the price range of these games and things like that, man, let's be honest here. If we could just be real for a second, I understand that folks is upset about the prices initially. I do get it. But if you really get down, I'm not talking about casuals or anything who just play the game here and there and don't really, if you really into this hobby or into this, and I ain't even gonna say hobby, there's some that do this for a profession, so we're not even gonna do that. There's some that make a lot of money doing this, so if you are into this side of gaming, you know what I'm saying? You know it's expensive regardless. It's expensive regardless with price hikes or not. It's expensive regardless. Accessories are expensive. Consoles are expensive. If you gaming on PC, the only thing cheap about that is getting the games from Steam. That's it. Everything else is expensive. Very expensive. You know what I mean? So I'm not surprised by this, and then you gotta think about it. Most games got DLC. Most games got DLC. Most games got season passes or some sort of a pass they created, you know what I mean, that have multiple DLC, okay? So I was on Steam the other day looking up sales and things like that. I have Street Fighter on the Steam, Street Fighter 6, okay? And that game's like $40 on some regular stuff, I think. I think it's dropped down to 40, I believe. But I looked at all the combined DLC. If you get it all, it's over $200, okay? So if you want Street Fighter 6 in its totality, you're gonna spend close to $300 for it. All right? If you want it in its totality, you spending close to $300 for that game, whether you want to see it that way or not. Whether you want to see it that way or not, that's the facts. Now, and then when you have these games, okay, they make it blatantly obvious you don't have the DLC, or they gonna remind you, hey, you don't have this. Oh no, you need to buy the DLC for this. You need that. It's with all the games. It's with all the games. For the most part, I'm gonna say most. So, if you want to be honest, games been more than $80. They've been like that for some years now. They've been like that. 80 out the gate, I mean, I get it sounds crazy, it does. But the DLC, man, if you want a game in its full entirety, you spending about $200 for most of these games, man. If you want the full experience with all the extra characters or extra state, whatever it is, whatever that DLC is, you're never gonna spend no less than $200, it seems, on these games. I'm serious. You may have some that's not the case, but for the most part, with these season passes or whatever the case they got, you spending a lot of money on one game. Seriously. And these games make it hard for you not to get the DLC. All right, make it hard for you not to get the DLC. So, yeah, $80 out the gate sucks. It does. But usually if you're invested in that game, you're spending more than that anyway. Way more than that. Especially if you're someone who plays like 2K or Madden. You know what I'm saying? You spending real currency in that game. I don't care what nobody says. They're spending real currency in that game, getting VC. I've said this before. I forgot which 2K it was. I believe it was either 16 or 17. It may have been 17, you know, the one with Kobe on the cover, you know what I'm saying? Not the one where he passed, not the, tribute cover, 17. You know, I believe that was the one where the special edition that had Kobe on the cover. And because Paul George was on the cover of that, but I believe Kobe was on the cover of that special edition. Man, somebody bought like $300 of VC on top of the game. No gas. Without blinking, no hesitation. All right? The game comes out at $60, $70. I believe it was 70 at the time. 60, 70, however you want to spend it, right? On top of the 300 of VC. So you pretty much spending the 400 on 2K. So that's my point. So with GTA being 100, because it's gonna be $100. Let's not play these games. We're not gonna act like it's not gonna be 100. It's gonna be $100. They didn't leak that for no reason. You know what I mean? It's not like they didn't confirm it. They didn't deny it. You know what I mean? It's gonna be 100. The standard edition is probably gonna be $100. I'm sure of it. I might as well get prepared for it. So, you know, with it coming out in May, you can set you aside $10 every check or something like that. You know what I mean? For all the ones who's working, you know what I mean? You can throw you aside a few dollars here and there. I'm not saying throw 20 aside. Go ahead, you know, Stick about $5, $10 per check on some. You can do whatever's manageable. Do that, you know what I mean? And you will have, you wouldn't, the 100 will be right there. You don't even got it, because you know it's coming out in May, allegedly, which I think, personally, that is probably going to be the fall. May is a weird month to drop GTA. I'm gonna assume it's gonna be pushed back again for holiday season. I'm gonna assume they're gonna push it back again and say we tweaking it and making sure it's on point. Holiday season. I could see that being the case. Now I could be wrong. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying I'm right, but it's like almost like that's a placeholder date. You know what I mean? I'm gonna assume that it's gonna be the fall of 2026, the holiday season. I'm gonna assume that. Said I could be wrong, but I don't have high expectations of it dropping in May. I just don't. You know what I mean? If you look at how this thing usually go, May, yeah, all right, we're gonna go into the fall. So I would say look more towards the fall. That way you don't expect it coming out May. Still save your dough to get it, you know what I'm saying? But then if it come out May, well, okay, for sure. You know, but I just don't think it's coming out May, personally. This is gonna be the biggest launch in game. This is probably gonna be the biggest launch in gaming history. I think it is. This is gonna shut it down. You got Grand Theft Auto, whether you like it or not, you're gonna have something like, I don't do that. I don't play. That's fine, dog. Don't. You know what I mean? For the ones that don't play it and got something crazy to say, move around. All right. You know, but a lot of people play Grand Theft Auto. Old, young, and you gotta understand this game was out when I was a kid. So therefore, you know, it's different eras involved in this. Like, you know what I mean? Like when GTA 3 came out, that was a huge impact. It was on some Mortal Kombat type stuff as far as like the press it got, you know what I mean? The original Mortal Kombat. GTA 3 was when they really touched down. Now, if you want to talk about the PS1 GTAs, I mean, they really didn't, they wasn't like, they was cool. GTA 1, I never played. London, I played a little bit of GTA, the first one. A little bit. I don't own that game. I have 2 on Dreamcast. But, and you know, that game, I mean, I like the concept of it. I love how you select who you work for and things like that, but man, the controls are terrible. But they didn't really arrive until GTA 3. When GTA 3 came out, they arrived. GTA 3, Vice City, and San Andreas, them 3 games, man, all of them had a crazy impact. Vice City had an impact too, but San Andreas really, like, that's like one of the, I think there's some lists where they say that's the greatest PS2 game of all time. There's some lists that say GTA San Andreas is the greatest PS2 game of all time, dog. You check it out, do your research. I'm not saying it's in all this, but it's at least top 5 every time. You know what I mean? So, you know, and even the PSP Grand Theft Autos was solid. Vice City Stories, Liberty City Stories, solid. Chinatown Wars on the DS, solid. That came out for, actually it was more than solid. That game was actually fire. It just went under the rug. You know what I mean? GTA 4, masterpiece game. I still feel like that game is underrated. I do feel like the way the game plays and controls, some was kind of turned off by it because it controlled more in a realistic fashion, right? You know what I mean? It wasn't as wacky as, the game wasn't really wacky at all, actually. It came with a more of a darker, serious tone, you know what I'm saying? You had wacky things in it, but it wasn't a wacky game, you know what I mean? Like San Andreas and Vice City and GTA 3, right? It was a more realistic look. The game was revamped, pretty much. It was revamped. GTA 1, 2, and 3, same engine, pretty much, you know what I mean? The same control scheme with a little bit of, you know, differences here and there, but, you know, you can go from 1, 2, and 3 without a problem. When you go to 4, you got to get it readjusted and everything like that. So, but I thought, like I said, GTA 4, that story is amazing. That story is amazing. Top notch, right? GTA 5, that right there. When that dropped now, and then they came with something unique where you could switch between 3 characters. At first, I wasn't feeling that. When I heard that, I'm like, switching between 3 characters. But when you seen how they implemented it, it was like, okay, that's fine. Oh, that's good. The way it's not hard to deal with at all. It's very easy to deal with. Nothing. It's like, it's very simple. You know what I mean? So the way they did it with the 3 protagonists, that's fire. Okay. GTA 6. When this drops, it's going to put the gaming world at a standstill for everybody else. You're not going to be able to put nothing out. You know what I'm saying? Like, so, with other gaming, like, they're not going, I can see people pushing their game back when this come out. Whenever they get a concrete date, you know what I'm saying? They're going to push their game because you're not going to be able to move nothing that week. You're not. You're not going to be able to move nothing that week. When GTA 6 come out, you're not moving nothing. Everybody's going to play this. You got in different races, different sexes, different age groups. It don't matter. They all go. This game is universally loved, point blank, period. You know what I'm saying? So, and let's be honest. If you want to be real about it, I'm not mad about the delay. If it was for making sure the game is on point, because for the most part, they don't ever have to patch their stuff up like that. They usually, for the most part, make sure their games is on point when they come out for the most part. You know what I'm saying? On consoles, at least. Now, I know PC be some problems and stuff, but on consoles, Grand Theft Auto rarely have bug issues. Their games be on point. So they got a good track history of making sure their game's on point. So, I mean, as long as they making it right, it is what it is. Part of me feel like it is due to this price stuff. Nintendo, they came out with their $80 price range for their first party titles. You know what I'm saying? But the thing is, Nintendo always been expensive. There's nothing cheap about Nintendo. All right? Nothing cheap about Nintendo. GameCube stuff is expensive. N64 stuff is expensive. All right? Like, Nintendo is expensive, period. I always said they were like the Apple of gaming, dog. Their games never gonna sit. Nintendo always been expensive. So I am not shocked a little bit at their prices. Joy-Cons was expensive on that regular Switch. They Pro Controller with all their stuff always been expensive. They have never been reasonable with their prices. You know what I'm saying? Never. Nintendo has never been reasonable with their prices at all. You know what I mean? So I'm not surprised slightly that they dropped at 80. I'm not surprised by that. And guess what? It's never going to go on sale. It's going to stay at 80. So Mario Kart World is going to stay $80 for the rest of it. It's going to stay that way. You know what I mean? I do feel like I truly feel like they was like, yeah, we gotta let this blow over. I could be wrong. I feel like they on some level. We gotta let this blow over. Xbox has raised their prices too. The nerve of them. You know what I'm saying? The nerve of them for doing that. Like, what are y'all doing? Like, you know what I mean? Like, why would you raise your system, bro? Like, just look at the prices. I don't have them right in front of me. You know what I mean? Because I was appalled. Like, what are y'all? Why would y'all raise y'all prices that high for the consoles? And listen, everybody's going to use the tariffs. They're going to. So most companies they're going to use the tariffs as an excuse. I'm not saying that the tariffs don't take an effect, but first thing they're going to say the tariffs. We got the tariffs. Come on, man. Like, the only price range that I seen that really didn't look different was the controllers and the headsets, because if you get accessories for any of these consoles, they're expensive. They always been expensive. I mean, Xbox controllers, now you usually can get Xbox Series controllers for decent prices at Amazon for sale and things like that, you know what I mean? But they was always over $64. You know what I mean? PS5, you spending about $70 on a good controller. You know what I mean? On a real controller, a good one. And then we don't even want to get into the special controllers, the pro controllers. Those all go for $200 a pop. Okay, so it is what I mean. On my side of things, I always spent upwards as far as controllers. You know what I mean? I got the DualSense Edge, and that was 200 and something. I think it was 250 if I'm not mistaken. I got it when it first came out. It was like two something. You know what I mean? I got the Victrix. I got that on sale though. You know what I'm saying? I got two Razors, Razor Wolverines. You know what I mean? Like, I got a Razer controller on 3. I mean, I like to play with the Pro controllers and things like that. So, you know, the standard controllers is nice too, but those are expensive. So they always been expensive. Headsets, you got levels to that. You have low end headsets. Then you got the high end headsets that'd be like $200. So I mean, accessories, gaming is expensive in a whole. If you are into this, it's expensive. You know what I mean? It's just like that. But you're gonna have some saying, "Oh, why would you spend money on that? Why would you spend money on your hobby, man?" So I don't want to hear that. You know what I mean? I don't want to hear that from anyone. Listen, you don't got to be into it. That's fine, but it don't make your hobby no better. You know what I mean? It don't make your hobby no better. Everybody who have a hobby, for the most part, is expensive. You know what I mean? If you're a collector, that's expensive. Whatever you collect, all right, that's expensive. You can be a shoe collector. You know how expensive shoes is. You got people that have damn near a warehouse full of shoes and don't wear them. How much you think that is? You know what I'm saying? Music. There's people that's into music and do it for a hobby. Music equipment is expensive. If you want good stuff, it's expensive. There ain't no way around that. No way around it. You know what I'm saying? If you're a movie collector, whatever you do, it's expensive. That's your hobby. Point blank, period. You know what I mean? So, gaming, tech is expensive. It's not cheap. It's not cheap. So if this is what you into, just understand, you already know what it is. You already prepped yourself for it. So, I prepped myself for this. So I'm not surprised at hearing this. I'm not surprised that GTA is $100. I'm not. I'm not. These games cost more than the standard price anyway. I look at these prices as entry points. Oh, this game is $70. That's the entry point. That's the entry point because they be announcing, oh, we got 4 DLCs coming out for the next 2 years type stuff. I was like, okay. So, I mean, you get in with the 70 and then you gotta, unless you want to get the season pass, you know what I mean? Which usually the season pass. But now the season passes, you gotta get multiple season passes. Now, it's not like, oh, you just get the one season pass. No, you gotta get this season pass, that season pass. So you get this season pass for that wave of DLC, and then you get this season pass for that wave of DLC. Yeah, so these games been over $80. They just didn't initially come out with it. Now they ripped the Band-Aid off $80. Now, when it comes to the hardware being expensive, let's be real. If you know. PC hardware stay expensive. All right? Thousands. If you want a dope, now unless you build your own stuff, I heard it's cheaper to build your own PC, okay? That's why I hear from everybody who do this, who do the PC game, and they say it's cheaper to build your own PC and get the components yourself and build it yourself. I'm not gonna say they're wrong in that. So I don't have a gaming PC, so I can't speak on that. That's what I hear. I've heard that for years. Okay, so if you got the ability to build a PC, that's probably the way to go by getting the components yourself and doing your research. But you gotta understand, a lot of casual gamers don't want to go through all that. They just want to get the system, plug it up, connect, put their Wi-Fi password, put their Wi-Fi in, their password, wherever, plug their Ethernet in, and be ready to go. They don't want to go through trying to figure out which graphic card is the best, which video card. Okay, cool. Oh man, now I got to tweak settings in the game for the run right. Oh my God, which controller do I want to use? They don't want to go through all that. They want everything right there. And I'm not saying they're wrong. There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. They don't want to deal with that tedious stuff. So PC gaming is for the hardcore for real. You know what I mean? But it's definitely expensive. It's way more expensive than console gaming. All right. Like I said, the cheapest you're gonna get on PC gaming is Steam games. They have the greatest sales, period. Steam has the illest sales of all time. I've never seen no sales that compete with Steam. Period. AAA games, you'll log into Steam, you'll see AAA games. They have a crazy sale. AAA games, $4.99, man. $10 for all the DLC. No cap. So, I mean, it is what it is. But GTA 6 got pushed back to May 26, 2026. I'm going to say the fall. But they say, who am I? But it says May 26, 2026, games been over $80. They've been over $80. If you just go through, look at the Xbox store, look at the PlayStation store, look at the eShop, you know what I mean? They all been over $80 for the most part with the DLC added. If you want the game in its full experience, you're spending over $80 easily. You know what I mean? Easily. So they just ripping the Band-Aid off of the standard price. That's how I look at it, honestly. You know what I mean? So we go about to pull up, start my day at work. So make sure you like, subscribe, share the content. Really appreciate it from everybody. Peace.